This is Hannibal here from the HannibalTV.com with a daily wrestling news update. Just a quick reminder, tonight, supposedly at 11:30 p.m., but with the captain, you never know, it could be later. I am supposed to be interviewing the Berserker John Nord. I'll get into the news. Sadly, Friday night at the Gathering in Charlotte, North Carolina, Steve Kern told the audience that Brian Blair's son, Brett Blair, was killed. He was the oldest of two of Blair's children. The way he was killed has not been released yet. He did have a history of issues with the law. He was arrested most recently on April 10th, 2021 by the Hillsborough County Sheriff's Department in Tampa, charged with possession of cocaine and drug paraphernalia, as well as possession of a controlled substance. In 2010, he was arrested on charges of possession of oxycodone and marijuana, as well as drug paraphernalia. Of course, marijuana is still illegal in Florida for some reason, as well as it's illegal in Texas. It's perfectly legal here in Canada, though. In June 2009, there was an incident at the Blair household over an altercation that Brian had with his son, Brett, who was only 17 at that point, and Blair was charged with child abuse, but that charge was later dropped. So I'm sorry to hear that. I've done several interviews with Brian. He's a nice guy. Sorry to hear that his son passed in his early 20s. However, it does seem that he was involved with some stuff that was getting him into some issues. But nevertheless, sorry to hear about that. In other wrestling news, John Cena had his first match since his WrestleMania 36 match against Bray Wyatt last night after the SmackDown show in Cleveland. Cena teamed with Rey and Dominic Mysterio to defeat Roman Reigns and the Usos in a dark match. Now, I don't even really call the John Cena versus Bray Wyatt WrestleMania 36 match a match. It was more of a cinematic match that involved teleportation and all kind of bizarre stuff. It was an abortion. It was an abortion and a good display of why wrestling sucks these days. That WrestleMania 36 match, I absolutely hated it. Dr. Britt Baker apparently broke her wrist in a match versus Nyla Rose on last Wednesday's Dynamite taping. Apparently, several WWE superstars have not been reporting to the mandatory training sessions that have been at the Performance Center lately. A lot of talent don't want to go to these sessions because, for instance, Bayley got injured doing some of these sessions and they feel it's unnecessary. However, when you're employed by a company like WWE, even though they call their wrestlers independent contractors, you are under contract with them. You got to do what your bosses tell you, just like any other job. Someone pointed out to me that last year, Sammy Guevara was suspended by AEW for making a comment in a podcast that was recorded years earlier where he said he, quote unquote, wanted to rape Sasha Banks, which, as everyone knows, that's a slang for... I don't approve of it, but it's a way of complimenting a girl actually in a rude manner by basically saying she's hot. It's another way of saying it. Obviously, it's not appropriate to say on a podcast. But someone pointed out to me that they've now hired Nick Gage, who is a convicted bank robber. And they also hired in the past Mike Tyson, a convicted rapist. So it's a little hypocritical that they'll suspend a guy for making a comment that didn't even mean that he wanted to rape a girl. It was just like a way of actually complimenting a girl, but obviously it was inappropriate. But at the same time, they'll hire a convicted rapist and a convicted bank robber. I don't know. I agree with that fan. That's a little weird. Remind everyone in the Philadelphia area, huge event coming up, Battleground Championship Wrestling, September 18th. PCW Ultra returns to the LA area October the 22nd. And of course, this match has been announced as part of the big Bruiser Brody Cup, November 5th and 6th in Carthage, Texas. And I'm also going to be there doing some interviews. Looking forward to that. It's going to be a great event, great tribute to Bruiser Brody. I'll get into some of your questions. Some people are sending their condolences to the son of Brian Blair. Where is Piper the dog? She is downstairs sleeping on the couch. Lots of RIPs, terrible news. 495 Marauder sending me $2.99. Appreciate it. I could use that after paying full price for Dark Journey the other night and only getting 35 minutes of the scheduled hour interview. Yes, it is a shame about Blair's son for sure. Prayers for him, some people are saying. Brian Blair recently had some serious back surgery as well. Buddy Small agrees with me that the Fiend match absolutely sucked. A lot of people don't like Cena, but he is helping the draws on the house shows now that they've added him to house shows for the next month. And for the people that have commented recently, it's not fair that they bring Cena back and put him in the main event position to the other guys. Well, the other guys aren't getting over and they aren't drawing. And you see when you bring Cena back, ratings go up and attendance goes up. Mike, would the Blood Hunter do a cinematic match? I have no idea. You'd have to ask his manager, Blairs, about that. I do understand that next weekend there's going to be some Forest of Fear matches recorded. And it's not 100% confirmed yet, but it's looking like August the 28th, there will be a Great North Wrestling event in front of fans. So I'll keep you guys updated on that. Maverick thinks WWE is stupid. Al says, I don't know what he's referring to there. Oh, I think he's referring to Nick Gage being a convicted bank robber. George mentions that Sammy spoke to Sasha after and they buried the hatchet. I mean, I don't think it was Sasha. When she found out about it, she was upset, but that was a fan digging up dirt on a podcast that Sammy did years before AEW even existed. So it was like he was being punished for something that he said before he was even under contract. And I'm not saying it was right. I'm just saying that robbing a bank, putting the bank teller in trauma, mental trauma, because she thinks she's in danger of possibly being killed if she doesn't comply with the bank robber. And then you have a real rapist, Mike Tyson. Those guys are fine. But somebody making a rude joke about raping a girl, that's worse than actually being convicted of rape or robbing a bank. I don't know. Last I checked, making a joke about wanting to have sex with a girl was not illegal. Mike believes Nick Gage is a garbage wrestler. This person says the John Cena versus Bray Wyatt is more of a segment than a match. Pete agreed that that was trash. DX Factor, what do I think about CM Punk going to AEW? It will please the AEW fans that are already AEW fans because he appeals to that fan base. It seems, I mean, they're going to do it, and it will get them a couple of good ratings for sure, and it will boost their attendance in Chicago. I like to see WWE have some competition. So overall, even though I'm not a CM Punk fan, whatever, if he can get some money from Tony Khan, good for him. What was my favorite WrestleMania? WrestleMania 5, because it was my first WrestleMania, and it was 3 and 5 are still the best to me, even though I was at 6. But 5 was my first WrestleMania as a wrestling fan, and the build to that Macho Man versus Hulk Hogan match was so great. Mike says WWE are too out of touch with the fans. They're too corporate. And they're only going to get more corporate. However, I do see if Dynamite starts getting higher ratings than Raw and SmackDown in the future, which I don't know if that's going to happen or not. I really do think AEW, my best advice to AEW would be to get Brock Lesnar. He would be the best guy to hire because he's not under contract with WWE right now. And Brock Lesnar will bring you the fans that aren't already AEW fans. The Brock Lesnar fans are not the Daniel Bryan fans. They're not the CM Punk fans. They will bring you new eyes. Whereas like Daniel Bryan and CM Punk, the type of fans that like those guys are already watching AEW. So if I were them, I would get Brock Lesnar. He would be a real difference maker. I don't think WWE would allow that. Mark, what's illegal in Canada? Weed is, I don't know if you're talking about weed, but weed is perfectly legal in Canada. It was made legal when Justin Trudeau came into office. There's more weed stores right now in Canada than there is alcohol. So, while in Ontario, alcohol is regulated, so you can't just go into like a convenience store and buy alcohol in this province. You have to go to a beer store or a liquor store. And in some cases, some grocery stores have a special section where you can buy alcohol. But overall, you can't buy it in grocery stores unless they have a special license. So you're seeing more weed shops pop up everywhere. There's 2 within walking distance to my house. There were some people making some jokes about Nick Cage. Ryan, he was found guilty. You can say he was innocent, but he was found guilty in a court of law. Weed is for idiots. I don't agree with that. Alcohol has far worse side effects than weed. Making jokes about girl getting raped, hate speech. I don't know about that. Naval Sailor, have I ever thought of wrestling Blood Hunter? I'm retired. I haven't wrestled since May 2018. George, there's no one on the AEW roster for Lesnar to work with. I would argue with that, but it doesn't matter. Like, who would he work with in WWE that he hasn't already worked with? Even if he was in there just destroying people, people would watch for Lesnar. maybe Dark Journey will hook up with Bill Irwin. Danny giving me some signs that I don't quite get. Ivan says the Blood Hunter speaks with his fists. I agree, and I'm looking forward to seeing him in action in those Forest of Fear matches that are coming up. And I hope that I'll definitely book the Blood Hunter. He is the Great North Wrestling Heavyweight Champion right now, as well as the reigning Texas Heavyweight Champion. So that'd be pretty cool if he could be on the August 28th Great North Wrestling event in Ontario. I wasn't a big War Games fan. I thought War Games was overrated. Someone says, give Brock a blank check and let him write the amount. Tony is negotiated that way with Big Star. I mean, there's people he's wasted his money on, like Christian. Christian has made no difference in the ratings, and he hasn't done anything entertaining in wrestling since I was in high school, and he was having those ladder matches with the Hardy Boys. He's one of the most overrated wrestlers out there. Devin Leahy says War Games are overrated. Stevie TV, WWE should have brought the War Games to the main roster. Well, they still have a no blood policy in WWE, to my understanding. So you can't really have War Games without people bleeding, in my opinion. Jonathan says Christian was only relevant as a tag team member. The Grease, yes, I went to high school. I never went to college, though. I got right into wrestling. Somebody says in hindsight, the War Games was trash. And again, I was pretty young when the War Games were on. I was like, when they were doing that. Oh, I guess they continued it in WCW. But I guess I was just never a big fan of the War Games. Mike, yeah, I'm going to be covering, I'll end with this as you bring up that I'm coming to LA in October. I am covering the PCW Ultra event. All the matches from this event are going to air on the Hannibal TV. So I highly suggest you guys watch this. As Piper, someone was asking about her. She just came to my door. She was just knocking on the door, so she'll say goodbye to you. So hopefully we'll see you later with John Nord, and hopefully he's not going to be intoxicated like Dark Journey was. Mark, why don't I try WWE? Because I've been retired since 2018, and I make more money doing this than your average low-level WWE wrestler, and I'm doing better and better every year, and I like being my own boss. I don't find WWE entertaining anymore. When I was a kid, I wanted to be in it because I liked the product, and I wanted to be like Macho Man and Ric Flair and The Undertaker, but it's not the same product. I'm not a fan at all of the product right now. So everyone have a good night. I'm going to find myself something to eat.
Thank you for watching the Hannibal TV. Please like this video if you enjoyed it and click the subscribe button to not miss any of our latest shoot interviews, match videos, or news updates. Support us on patreon.com for $1.99 a month to watch our full shoot interviews